What it's really all about. Chris Hedges. Now, if you don't think that we live in a global setting where something that happens thousands and thousands of miles away can't affect you, think again. You know the war in Yemen? The one that's killed tens of thousands of people and where hundreds of thousands are sick and could be dying? So you usually don't think about Yemen, even though, by the way, and here's what you should know about Yemen. It's your tax money that's being used there to prop up one side, the Saudis, who are on one particular side of this battle. But that's, maybe a story for another day. Generally, Americans just don't seem to care. We're busy. Well, something is happening now in Yemen that could make you care, because it could eventually affect you here, all of us, maybe even in some conditions kill us. See, there's this massive outbreak of swine flu in Yemen. It appears, because of the conditions and the horrible situation there, they've got no way of stopping it. And remember, diseases like this do skip borders. People do board airplanes when they're sick, and people do sneeze on airplanes. Think about that. We have our NRS correspondent, Michelle Greenstein, who's been working on this story throughout the day, and she's here to fill us in on what she's learned. So start us off with, what is the situation with the swine flu there in Yemen, and why is it so bad?
Sure. So the Yemeni health ministry says that this is a flu spreading rapidly through many provinces. As you know, this is a disease that has the potential to break down one's immune system. So there is, of course, a high risk of fatality. Yemeni health officials say that about 80% of those with the H1N1 risk dying. This is higher than it needs to be, and we'll get to that more in a moment. But right now, the official death toll is 86, although it's likely higher because many cases are going unreported.
Now, the good news about swine flu is you have to be sick, old, or very young to die from it, or, get affected by it in a very bad way. The bad news is it's communicable. That means what is happening in Yemen today could eventually cross the border and reach other countries, and sometimes it's as simple as a sneeze, right?
Right, so this is the right point to be making, I think. Why can't we contain this? One issue is that these cases are being diagnosed very late in the game, and you need to detect them early to cure them with antiviral drugs. Of course, we have medicine shortages. Less than half of the hospitals in Yemen are operational right now. The ones that continue to exist, the ones that have yet to be bombed to rubble, barely function. Doctors and nurses are going unpaid. Thousands of them have gone months without seeing a paycheck. And we also have power outages and this type of infrastructural issue. Some patients are unable to simply access the health facilities that do exist because a lot of the roads are impassable, which is why I think we can't discuss this story without discussing the broader war on Yemen, which until recently was pretty much ignored by the corporate media. Between 70 and 80,000 people have died from this war directly, but like you mentioned in your toss, that doesn't include the indirect causes of death, like famine, like disease. This is a war that has manufactured the world's worst famine in history, in which 85,000 children have already died from hunger and disease. The UN actually warned that an entire generation could be crippled by hunger. And then, of course, in addition to bombing hospitals and clinics, Saudi-led coalition has also intentionally targeted farms, markets, food storage facilities.
Yeah.
And, Yemen imports 90% of its food, so to starve this country is not that hard, which is why Saudi Arabia, backed by us, like you mentioned, has been bombing roads, bridges, and, of course, you have the Saudi-led blockade through ports.
And you know what that does, too, and I think this is important. Normally, in a situation like this where there's an outbreak, the CDC would send in a team. They would try and isolate the area. They would find the origin. They can't do any of that right now.
This is a great point. Yes, aid is being blocked, aid on which 75% of the population relies. Like you said, this blockade of ports means that medicines can't get in. So that's why we had the fastest growing cholera outbreak. That's why you saw a measles outbreak, and now we're seeing the swine flu.
Michelle Greenstein, as usual, very comprehensive report, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.